Welcome to Marmaris and to the 24th Marmaris International Race Week. This regatta was established in 1989 and started out as a small local event that has since grown to become one of the biggest sailing events in the Mediterranean. The Marmaris International Race Week offers an alternative race to most on the sailing circuit, providing a meet for those who want to enjoy a week of sailing whilst having fun at the same time. Most of the competitors come from the charter divisions, but the race week is renowned for attracting participants with a variety of sailing experience and from different backgrounds and nationalities, all of whom want to have a taste of intense racing, topped off with some great memories by the end of the week. For countries that are located in Northern Europe, the gorgeous conditions in Marmaris tend to be a huge draw, attracting those who are unable to sail at this time of year in their home countries. Located in the southern part of Turkey, Marmaris is able to provide ideal sailing conditions for all who flock here and offers ample time for sunbathing for anyone not sailing during the week. Teams from Russia, Ukraine, Germany, Great Britain, Belarus and many others have gathered this year to give an international feel to the event. The general manager of the event's main sponsor commented that as a company, they are very pleased to see the development of their portfolio as Ergo Insurance and the increase of the number of racing boats in Marmaris International Race Week. She added that this is a really good development for Turkey and the town of Marmaris. Netzel Marina played host for the week, providing top-notch hospitality for all of the competitors and spectators, whilst ensuring there was plenty of fun to be had on shore as well as out on the water. The success of this event has grown year on year, and this week sees an impressive turnout of around 180 competitors gracing the Marmaris shores. There were two classes competing throughout the regatta, the IRC class and the IRC charter class. Both had 5 divisions in each, and all divisions had one inshore race to sail on the first day. And what a day to sail, with breathtaking scenery and golden sunshine in abundance. However, where there was sunshine, there was a serious lack of wind, so the fleet had to wait patiently inside the Marmaris Gulf for the breeze to fill in. But what better way to wait than having a quick dip in the clear blue waters to cool off? One of the great things is that it's not all about the racing. It's about having a good time, enjoying the surroundings and spending quality time with like-minded people. And if having fun is on the agenda, then the participants here don't miss an opportunity. Finally, after a long wait and with the breeze coming and going, the race committee announced their decision to bring the large fleet ashore and postpone racing until tomorrow, when they hope for better racing conditions. But in a classic example of the unpredictable nature of sailing, the conditions changed for the better and the breeze kicked in, reaching speeds of up to 10 knots. Thanks to the sudden change in fortunes, many of the teams were able to hit the water and get some sailing in to test their boats and make the most of some training time. The conditions turned out to be perfect for the afternoon, with flat waters and constant sunshine, a real treat for the competitors after a morning of waiting. The teams that attended the regatta this year were not only at a record high in terms of numbers, but also in the level of competition, offering a real show for the spectators that had flocked to Marmaris. The second day, there will be an offshore race for all 10 divisions, and as the racing will be taking place outside the Gulf of Marmaris, there is a much better chance that the teams will have some strong winds to sail in. So the second day of the 24th Marmaris International Race Week was a big one for the teams as they looked forward to the hotly anticipated offshore race. The crews faced a challenging race course spanning 20 nautical miles. was expected that the course would take most of the boats a whole day's sailing. In a similar pattern to the first day, the conditions proved to be very light in the morning, keeping the fleet of eager competitors poised for action as they took in the picturesque landscape that surrounded them. With a bit of sightseeing done, it was time to put the game faces on as the wind finally picked up and it was time to get racing. Both classes, the IRC and the IRC Charter, were scheduled to race in this second day. Each class had 5 divisions and the day started with the IRC and IRC Charter 5, then counting down respectively. The IRC and IRC Charter 1 were the last to go. It was an upwind start for the fleets and the pack starting line made for a great spectacle as most of the teams headed for the pin end of the line. They had to work hard to stay out of trouble and avoid each other as the boats jostled for position. The alternative race course that the competitors were required to sail took them past the rugged fishing island of Yelancı Gada. The first mark, which must be rounded with the mark to starboard, was a few miles southeast of the island, and once it had been rounded, the team sailed towards the Gulf of Tulnuch to head for the finish line. The first leg was sailed upwind, and once the crowded start was over with, the fleet spread out across the Aegean Sea, an impressive sight to behold for all of those watching from the land. The boats that chose to keep a higher course on windward seemed to benefit from the stronger breeze, and as a result, they soon put some distance between themselves and the rest of the fleet. Letland from Latvia was leading the race at this point, followed by the Ukrainian team with their boat First and the Greeks with Tukaku. The chasing pair were further on leeward and fighting their own personal battle as they tried to get ahead. It was a very close matchup, but First got the lead. The fastest boat of the fleet was a Volvo 70 known as Black Betty. Even though she was the last to start, it wasn't long before she sailed past all of her rivals. Her huge gains on the racecourse were thanks to the special design of this racing machine. It's also extremely lightweight, allowing the boat to zip along the water and excel here amongst the smooth, flat waters. The team aboard Black Betty were the leaders at the first mark and kept their position all the way to the finish. Before the fleet could catch up, the wind shifted further to the right, meaning spinnakers were hoisted on the approach to the mark. First across the finish line was of course Black Betty, and as the team crossed the line they seemed to take the wind with them. Glassy waters followed and there was little wind remaining, making it tough for the rest of the fleet. The remainder of the course was relatively slow-paced, but the competitive spirit of the participants was tangible and the course made for a great day's sailing. It was a long but successful day of sailing, with the last of the teams finishing 2 hours after midnight. But it was full steam ahead as the teams readied themselves for Day 3 of the Marmaris International Race Week when a second coastal race took place. Yet again, the competitors were treated to sunny conditions, accompanied by some serious heat in the Marmaris Gulf as the 180-strong fleet gathered at the starting line.
Again, it's a very good year for Marmaris Race Week. It was a little bit light this year, but still I think it was good racing with record number of participants. After two days, we have very good communication between the team. We made few mistakes, and every day we race, we made fewer and fewer mistakes. And then it comes to the tactics, and it's hard it's hard for the tactician because it's very light air, and there are a lot of empty areas without wind.
Unlike the previous 2 days, the presence of the sun didn't mean an absence of wind, and much to everyone's delight, there was a good breeze early on in the day. Seizing the opportunity, the race committee wasted no time in getting racing started. Following the same procedure as the second day, the smaller divisions started first, with the bigger ones following. As was also the case on day 2, the pin end of the start line was favoured by most of the teams. However, in the IRC1 division, Boreas and Mademoiselle managed to get the best start by starting off from the middle of the line. Their lead wasn't uncatchable though, and closing in fast was the agile Melges 32 named Uka Uka, clearly taking advantage of the light conditions in which these boats are so well suited. The fleet was spread out along the Aegean Sea on the first upwind leg, with many opting for the right side of the course, keeping the boats away from the shore. But the winds soon died out, slowing down the pace of the race and putting an emphasis on tactics amongst the crews. The Ukrainian first had an early lead, but before the team reached the first mark, the wind shifted to the right, giving the boats behind a chance to hoist their spinnakers and play catch-up, which is exactly what they did, beating first to the mark. Following yesterday's performance, it came as no surprise that one of the boats that overtook the Ukrainians and led the rest of the fleet to the mark was the Volvo 70 Black Betty. But the surprise of the day came for one of the smallest boats in the fleet, the 25-foot Ruffles that was following close behind the leader. The ultra-lightweight boat was clearly benefiting from the fickle conditions, leaving the heavier boats that found it harder to accelerate far behind as it headed to the finish line. The rest of the fleet was looking almost motionless, with the spinnakers barely filling the air and the boat slowing up dramatically. This brought the fleet closer together and made for a challenging mark rounding as the boats attempted to make a clean go of it. Once the boats had rounded the mark, all eyes were on the horizon, and it was looking promising as signs of a breeze began to show and the wind filled in slowly, finally upping the pace of the coast race. With Black Betty securely in first place, the interest lay further back in the fleet, with Ruffles leading the pack at great speed, her crew hoisting their spinnaker and powering across the finish to take second place. Next over the line was Uka Uka in third place, a great achievement for the crew who wasted no time in celebrating their good performance. So after 3 days of the regatta, 2 races had been completed, leaving another 2 left to sail before the 24th Marmaris International Race Week reached its finale. Day 4 saw the fleet racing inside the Marmaris Gulf for an inshore race where the racing was expected to be faster, closer, and undoubtedly action-packed. The pressure was mounting for the teams as they approached the inshore race, the penultimate showdown before the regatta reached its end. After a challenging day offshore on day 3, with tricky wind shifts and an unpredictable breeze, the day's inshore race offered its own set of challenges for the teams to overcome. The racing was set on a triangular course inside the Gulf of Marmaris, and everyone was ready for an action-packed day.
We like the Marmaris Week because it's not the very high-level competition. Its socialization is important, and this is the end of the season. This is the last chance to have a sunny days and swimming. But to have 190 boats, it's a good organization actually. As an international race, maybe it's a mostly cruising type of fleet, but the number of the boats and the competition is not easy.
The starting sequence was slightly different for the 4th day, with the bigger boats starting first. The IRC Charter Class Division 1 kicked off the racing, followed by the smaller boats in the first division of the IRC class. Unlike the last few days where teams have favoured the pin end of the start line, today saw most of the fleet opting for the committee boat end, starting on leeward. Many jumped the gun as they vied for position, meaning they had to turn back and recover from their mistakes. In comparison to the open sea, the compact course being used today meant that the racing was much closer and full of action. The boats were forced to sail extremely close to one another, allowing teams to show off their skills as they tried to keep clear and get ahead. It's these sorts of conditions that make sailing such a great spectator sport, with onlookers watching as the crews battle it out to make those all-important gains on the course. That, and the stunning scenery that played backdrop as the team sailed the first upwind leg towards the southeast side of the Marmaris Gulf. Once the first of the boats rounded the windward mark, they headed for the second mark that was located to the south of the Gulf. Yet another display of deft crew work as the teams hoisted their spinnakers and filled the racecourse with an array of colourful sails. It was an impressive sight to behold, but for the competitors, it was a crucial stage of the race. It was as the teams were reaching the second mark that the pressure started to die as the wind tried to fill in from the south side, slowing up the racing and calling on the tacticians of the team for their valuable input. This lack of pressure brought the teams even closer together, tightening up the competition and making every move count. A big wind shift to the right saw a flurry of action as numerous sail changes were made in the fleet, adding to the physical demands of the race and requiring lots of hard work from the crews. After finishing one round of the triangle course, the fleet had to sail upwind to the leeward mark and do another windward-leeward loop before finishing upwind and close to the windward mark. Boreas Afar 40 led the pack throughout most of the race, followed by the Melges 32 Uka Uka, who has done well to feature amongst the top performers in most of the races so far. In the IRC Charter 1 class, the Ukrainian Naughtygal, a Salona 41, led the fleet. A feature of this boat's design is its easily adjustable genoa and main sheet, something that was useful in these conditions and had obviously paid dividends today. Finally, it was Boreas that crossed the line first, followed by Uka Uka in second and Naughtygal in third, all having maintained their positions to the finish line. The fifth and final day of racing at the 24th Marmaris International Race Week saw participants pulling out all the stops to go for a win before the week was over. Another inshore race was scheduled for the last day, so once again there was plenty of action expected and perhaps some risk-taking as the teams went for an all-or-nothing day. The crucial last race of the regatta was an inshore triangular course, similar to the previous day. We've seen some great sailing from all of the teams who've been treated to more than their fair share of sunshine throughout the week. With an event that offers so much to its competitors, it's clear to see why this regatta has grown so rapidly into the large-scale event that it is today.
At the beginning it started with 8 boats, and this year we have the record number, which is 179 boats. We have around 1,350 sailors from 16 different nationalities. That all package, the race and also the social event, the music and everything is actually one goal. I mean, one thing, which makes, I think, the week very interesting.
As has become expected, the race week delights attendees with some memorable social events, and this year's regatta was no exception. The entertainment gave everyone something to talk about as pirates, smurfs and cannibals took to the Marmaris stage to give a unique performance. But today was race day and it was time to get serious. The crucial last race of the regatta was an inshore triangular course similar to yesterday's. The breeze kicked in early on and it wasn't long before gusts reached up to 10 knots, perfect conditions for such a pivotal day of racing. The Gulf was packed with 179 boats and both the skippers and their crews were ready to put in their best performance. The highlight of the day was the start of the IRC 1 race. Boreas had a great start, but a few meters after the start line, the jib halyard broke, causing the crew some serious problems and ultimately losing them valuable speed. But thanks to some slick crew work and a great team effort, they wasted little time changing the halyard and managed to get themselves back in the game just as rival Mademoiselle started to get ahead. The diversity of the participants that compete here is what makes this regatta so unique. Anyone from elite sailors to part-time enthusiasts can enter, and this year has seen sailors from all over Europe gather to experience the thrill of racing amongst some of the industry's best. The last day continued as it had begun. The breeze remained strong all day, allowing for some fast-paced racing. The first boat to cross the finish line in the IRC 1 class was Mademoiselle, a great end to the regatta for the team. With Mademoiselle winning the first division of the IRC class, it was the Turkish X-Machine who won Division 2. Letland from Latvia took the top spot in Division 3, and the Ukrainian boat named Ajuga won its class in Division 4. Finally, it was Kanka from Germany who took the win in Division 5. The IRC charter class also reached its conclusion today, with White Butterfly taking the win in the first division for the Russians. Division 2 saw the Russians again at the top with Felixine, and Division 3 as won by the Russian team sailing Dans. Cornelian won Division 4 representing Ukraine, and finally it was First from Ukraine that came out on top in Division 5. The closing ceremony took place later on in the evening, where the winners were awarded their prizes after a successful week of sailing. With the trophies received, the celebrations began, and everyone made the most of their last night in Marmaris. We hope you've enjoyed watching the action unfold here at the Marmaris International Race Week. The event continues to grow in popularity every year, and next year promises to be even bigger. So make sure you join us again then for some more fun in the sun.